guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. I'm excited to share the calendar. So if you haven't been following me on my Instagram or check out my blog, the calendar for Journal Mood, which is the third year that I've been doing it, third anniversary. The calendar is available. It is 30 words and it's a word prompt form of journaling. And these words are you're going to use every day in November. Now, I decided to do this video because there are a lot of new subscribers, new people even on my other platform who may not be familiar with the journal mood, even though I've been doing it for 3 years. Now, these word prompts are intended for you to use to think about various things that are pertaining to yourself. It is that honest, safe conversation that you can have and write it in words in your journal. It is your private space, so it's not something that you have to share. Now, when we do the prompts, we have the only thing I ask is that maybe take a picture of you writing in your journal, or a picture or a video of you writing in your journal, and just post it with the hashtag or journal mood. Do not have to share what you write. No one has to see what you write. I don't share what I write. I do share like my collage and the art journal part, but I don't share what I write. So you don't have to do that, but just know it's just a way of just to encourage everyone to journal and to take that time for some self-care, some self-awareness, some self-preservation, all that stuff that is basically part of our life and ways that we can stay mentally healthy and find our peace, our joy, and also how to deal with life woes as they come at us. So I'm doing this video in order to help a lot of beginners, and I've gotten various questions of how to start journaling, how to make it become a part of your routine. That's a constant thing. Time management. Those are a lot of the questions that I get asked a lot. Sometimes I do virtual events, and sometimes I've only been able to do one this year, in-person events, and that was a big one where people ask, how do I get consistent? So the first thing I always ask individual who asks me is, what is your intention? If you have an idea what your intention in journaling, then you have a better idea what kind of journaling you want to do, because there's various kinds. There's endless. There's some that I've never tried. So I always tell people to try various different kinds until you get a niche of what works for you, because if you find what works for you, you're more likely to journal on the regular. So I have, this is my reading journal, as well as my social media ideas, things like this, videos that I do that I put in this journal. So I'll be looking down a few times because I want to make sure that I cover a lot of things that are asked. So with the intention, there's no rules. That's the first thing you need to understand. There is no rule. This journal is basically your way of expressing yourself, your private conversation with yourself, and your way of being totally honest with yourself, which is much more easy to do than to actually tell someone else. So that's the first thing I always tell people. Next you want to do is get a journal. Get a journal. If you have a journal, then everything else makes it a little easier to do. So you have to think about, are you a visual person? Do you like to look at something that just looks beautiful and it just attracts you? Or that's not a big deal for you. You could just get a simple book. But if you're a visual person, get a journal that sparks your attention, that is visually appealing, and that's something that you would like pick up and look at, because you're a visual person, that will help you to want to journal. So once you have a journal, then you can look at it as a way of saying, okay, I have this journal, now what? And this is where oftentimes you're just going to have to write. So there's the kind of journaling that you can do is you have word prompt, which I'll come back at because that's the one I use. You also have people that likes affirmation. And that is helpful for those who are somewhat often stuck in a dark place and you want to write, what are you grateful for? What are you happy about? What are things in their life you just want to focus on that's positive? Then you have art journaling, and those are people who just like to put vision of what they're feeling on page. Not words, but just vision of how they feel or how they want to feel or various aspect of their emotion. And it's just art on page. And it can be in a form of collage, it can be in a form of painting, drawing, different ways. And it's a form of journaling that speaks to them. So you can always try those. There's a combination ones, like I do a combination of word prompt and art journaling. So I like the visual aspect of my page, but I also write. There are those who just simply are going to do writing journal. They don't care about the art part. They are just simple writers who just want to write. There are people who use poetry in journaling every day. They write in a form of poetry. So that can be something that you can do, that is a form of journaling that you can do every day. The length, do not worry about the length. There are ways that your mood is going to change, where some days you're going to inspire yourself to want to write pages after pages because there's so much in you that you want to release on those pages. And there's some days that a word, a sentence, a phrase, a paragraph, maybe a page, and that is all you have in you, and that is okay. This is where I said there's no rules. So you can do that. Now, creative journaling is what I typically do because I combine different kind of journal. I combine the art and writing. So I do a lot of collage in my journal. I share a lot of it on Instagram. So if you've seen it, you also seen it on here on my YouTube channel. And I, again, like to visualize something on the page. And that has helped me to get consistency, because I get excited just to know that I can create something that sparks my mood on a page and then add the words to it. So every day I create something different on the page. There are moments where I have used the same words maybe twice in a month, but what is the art that I put on it is different. It's not the same. That word might mean something for the, I use them twice that month. That word that meant something those 2 different times meant totally something different for each time. So I like to do that. Now, another thing is, when I talk about consistency, I talk about time management and developing a routine. Now, this is where I often hear people say they don't have the time, and that's not true. I've done a workshop where time was done, and there's so much you can write with 5 minutes. And you have to basically commit. It's a commitment, and you find that once you are able to just commit to journaling, you will do it and realize 5 minutes is a lot you can write in 5 minutes. With that said, think about if you are a morning person or you are even person. So that's the first thing you have to establish. Some people prefer to journal in the morning. They want to start their day off with this fresh mindset and this fresh idea and things that they want to hope for the day. And then there are some people who likes the evening, like myself, where I just want to decompress and think of all the things that happened in the day, kind of like lay to rest, release it and lay to rest in words in my journal for the day, kind of going into the night fresh and with a different set of different attitude of knowing that, okay, this happened today, but I'm okay, or how do I deal with this situation that happened for the day, that kind of deal. So that's where you have to think about what best for you. Then you have to think what area in your home that you often relax at. What area that you find that after work you sit down in this area, or your feet is up and you relax, because that's the area that you should journal in, because that's the area that is your relax mode, that you will find that you could probably leave a notebook right in that area, whether it is on your nightstand, in your bedroom, where your bed might be that place, or somewhere in your living room, or you might have a nook like I have a nook, and that's where I often go to journal. You just have to find somewhere in your house that is your spot, that is your relaxation, that is the area that you really find that you tend to be the most relaxed in your house, and keep a journal there, or keep whatever you use in notebook there, and that's your spot. So then you have to make it a routine by constantly doing it. It's not going to come easy at first. And the reason why routine also for journaling might be a problem is, don't look at your journal as the negative book. Look at your journal as all of you. So write in your journal when you are excited, when you are happy, when you are sad, when you are angry, when you're indifferent, when you are thinking of, you have this optimistic feeling about the future, about things you want to do. Write in your journal for every emotion, because then it becomes a part of you, because it doesn't become only when you are dreading or something horrible happened and you have to release it. Write every emotions that you are dealing with day to day, and then your journal becomes so much a part of you that you will want to write in it. You want to capture those moments, those different moments. I always encourage people, even those moments when you are totally relaxed and there's nothing going on. The day is so uneventful. There's no excitement. There's nothing bad. There's nothing sad. It's just one of those calming, relaxed days. Write those days, because those days become so important as you evaluate your growth, as you evaluate your healing, as you evaluate the changes that's happening to you, because you will notice certain things during those moments that you may never realize. And it happens. Oftentimes too, the self-awareness comes because when you start to journal, you realize that things that you think is important or bothering you, it's not what's really bothering you. You find that you start writing about something else as your mind is focusing on the words and the pages, that you will just start drifting off to something else that's really on your mind. And when you end it and you look, you're like, oh wow, that was bothering me. Oh wow, I'm excited about that. I didn't realize how excited I was about that. You find these different emotions that you didn't realize because your mind sometimes really takes you there when you journal. And you sometimes don't necessarily have a control over exactly what you're going to put on that paper, but you just put it. With that said, I always say to people, when you are journaling, and when you want to journal and you don't know what to write, write that you don't know what to write. It might sound silly, whatever is on your mind. You might think this is not make any sense. But if you sit down and just write what's on your mind, no matter how it might not feel important, but just write it, eventually your mind will start focusing on things that is important, that needs to be addressed, or things that's just on your mind that you really didn't really realize that you could write about. And I do that a lot. Sometimes I start out, what am I writing? Or I would say how the day went in terms of, I really, like, my mind is just not focusing on anything. And I would write, my mind is not focusing on everything. I would write my struggles of being able to not commit to certain things that I was supposed to do for the day. Why? Why was that not happening? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So if you sit down and just write, you'll be surprised. Now, you might have to try different form of journaling until you find your niche. Till you find the kind of journal style that works for you. Now, word prompt might not be necessary for everyone, because I think some people need directions more. They are, word prompt is such a wide area, because you could get a word and that word, how that person go about writing about that word is different. In the group that I do, we have discussion about a word, and just to hear different people's thoughts on that word, and it's different, totally different than what you would have sat down and write about for that word. So some people might want like a sentence structured. There are situations like that. I believe someone asked me, let me see what the question was, and she said, I always enjoy your journaling content, and I would love a series on how to start journaling consistently. Although you use prompts, I'm wondering if you could touch on other techniques. Are there books that inspire you when you started journaling? And the thing is, no. I have purchased in the past, before I started daily journaling, where there was like prompts books, and they had a sentence, and they have questions, and it's just specific questions, and I didn't stick with it. I know some people need that, so there are books out there that will give you a journaling style that will give you every day, ask you a question, and it's just a specific question, yada yada yada, that kind of deal. I personally don't like that. I like prompt because how that the question that they may give me for that day may not necessarily be the question that inspire me to write. Versus word prompt, I can use it in so many different ways that I will find the inspiration to write, because I can focus on different things for that word. Different areas in my life and that kind of deal. So you have to find what works for you. The word prompt might not necessarily be for you. I'm just being honest. It's not for everybody. Some people really struggle, especially if the word is not given to you. For instance, I only provide a calendar 4 times of the year. I do for spring, summer, fall, and I do 7 days in December, the last 7 days of the year. There are times where people ask me for word prompt because they see me using word prompt. I get inspiration from word prompts for the day. What happened today, and a word will stand out that represent what I want to focus on for the day. I don't necessarily write memory keeping, like in terms of give a rundown in my journal of the day, what happened day. It will be most of the time a word that pops out in a situation, and I will use that word as inspiration of challenging myself to do better, or maybe pat myself, because I do try to celebrate myself in my journal sometimes, which I encourage you to do. Celebrate yourself. It is hard to do that. It's so easy to focus on the negative and what didn't go right, but celebrate yourself. So I use word prompts sometimes to do that. Or I'm struggling to accomplish a task, and I will use word prompts to talk about what task that was. So I come up with word prompts every day. Sometimes if I can't get a particular word I want to come up with, I will use the day. It'll be a Friday mood or a Sunday mood, or if the weather, a rainy day, and that would do for me. But most of the time I do find a word to sum up what I want to focus on for the day. But the calendar is available in November for those of you who want to try out word prompt and see how that helps you. I did went over the different form of journaling that you can do, and I think I covered all of this. The consistency was common. There's one that made me smile. This is from Dr. Michelle. She said, "This is lovely." The question she asks is, do you ever think of taking photos of the entry or do something to just digitalize it just in case, God forbid, it gets lost or ruined? And I never thought about that because, oops, sorry. Silence that. I never thought about that because I have stacked, you guys, in the previous video I talked about my 3 years of daily journaling. And I had a stack of journals that I've been using for 3 years. I never thought that, God forbid, something happened to get ruined. And it's it's something I don't think about. I didn't think about it when she asked, but then when I think about it, I kind of felt like um, I don't want to digitalize it when I think about it now. Um, I think if it was to happen, it was meant to happen kind of way. That's in my mind. But just the thing that I'm holding on so tight to this, to my journals, where I'm gonna fall apart or something, or feel a certain way if it get ruined. I don't want my journal to have that kind of hold on me. So I treat my journal very much. My journals are just open. They are literally, they have their own shelf and I keep them on there. I don't hide them. I don't, even though there's certain things in there I wouldn't want anybody to read. I've been fortunate where I have people in my life who are not snoopers, because they themselves journal, and I'm always tell them that allow me to tell you what I want to tell you. My journal is not necessarily everything in there that is intended for you um, to read, to understand, or to get. It's because it's not you, it's me. It's, like I said, it's my conversation with myself. And if I'm ready to share certain part of it, I would share. I do share quite a bit that people don't know on my blog. So there's a Confession Chronicles series that I do. A lot of that started out as a journal entry, and I just elaborate more on it and post it on my blog. So I do share some, but there's so many things that I would never share because there's so many things that the world don't need to hear or understand. No one needs to. It's for me to understand and me to get and me to interpret however I want, and not necessarily to share. So so I do that, but at the same time I would be devastated, but I think I will be all right because it was not meant to be saved if something was to happen to it. But we're trying in my mind I'm like, I hope that never happens. But I don't want my journal to have a hold on me like that where I'm just like, oh my god, I'll be, crushed. And I don't want to have to do any digital to save them. I don't intend on having kids, so I don't know who would get these journals. I don't know who would get these journals. I mean, I have nieces and nephews. I don't know who will get these journals when I'm long gone. It'll probably be some random person if they're still lurking around. But again, it's not something I'm saving for my offspring, because that's not happening. So with that said, I'm going to end this here. I think I touched on a lot. If by chance I didn't touch on enough, let me know. Put that on in the comment section. The series will continue. I will touch on more niche topic as it goes on, because I think this is such a broad range and there's so much more that I can actually talk about as far as this. But again, if I didn't answer some of the questions, go ahead and ask me and I will add it to the next video. I will be doing more of these as time goes. I will also do more on other things. I think I touched on so much of my equipments and books and all that, but I still haven't done a folder. I do need to do that playlist so that you guys could check out all of those other things that I talked about in this series, because I think this might be the sixth or seventh video that I've done so far. So yeah, but thanks for watching, guys, and thank you for those that's been doing a journal mood with me for 3 years. Yeah, guys, 3 years. Yeah, time has really flown by. So and those of you who are interested, hopefully you guys can join me. If you don't have Instagram, you can always use other social media platforms. I'm on all of them with the same name, Comfy Cozy Up, and just tag me so I know that you are journaling. If you are doing privately, let me know. I've known people who say they're just not a social media person, but they do journal and use the word prompts. Let me know that you're doing it. The whole point of it is to get you to journal, get you to practice self-care, and in ways to, especially with the many changes that we are experiencing in the last 3 years in this world. Yeah, a lot of us need that private time with ourselves. So Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.